Interesting. It was definitely interesting. I genuinely didn't expect to get wowed as much as I did from this show, and after watching the first season, I realized that I was definitely missing out this entire time. This show is actually much darker than I thought it would be. It's gritty, it's bloody, it's super adult. Like I did not expect this show to actually like genuinely be as adult as it actually is. And whenever it is dark and gritty and violent, those are the moments where it actually shines the best. These are the moments that are usually the most beautiful in the entire show. And a lot of times whenever these moments happen, the show usually slows itself down for a moment so you can see every section of its beautiful, gorgeous, dark animation. The composition, the animation, the direction of it all, it's all so purposeful, it all feels so skillful, and it's like just the very definition of art. And it's all complemented by the way the camera tracks every single subject. At times it felt like I was watching a live action movie, but that's probably because the entire show is in like 3D. But it has like, the animation makes it look 2D at times, so you kind of get the best of both worlds. This story, just like most other stories of animation, are told from third person, but at times it somehow feels like it's being told from first person. And I think that's because of the fact that all of these scenes have so much emotional weight added to them. A perfect example of this is a scene when one of the main characters, Powder, has to jump from one building to another. The camera looks at her from above and distorts the depth from the top of the building all the way down into the streets. It then focuses on her pretty realistic anxiety-ridden face for a while before she finally makes the jump. And when she does end up jumping, the camera follows her all the way down to make it feel as if we, the viewers, are also taking the leap with her. Oh yeah, and going back to the whole anxiety that I felt with Powder, I feel like every time I see any of the characters' faces, it always makes me feel something, because whenever they're happy, I feel happy. And whenever they're in despair, it makes me want to cry along with them, because the faces that they have is always so vivid, there's always so much detail on them. And I especially felt this with Vi in like the first few episodes. So something that makes this show pretty cool is the fact that they follow show don't tell to like a perfect T. In the beginning, we see that there's like some kind of battle happening. We see that there's bodies everywhere, there's flames fighting, and yeah, a lot of death. We see a lot of death, but like throughout this entire segment, there isn't a single word to be said, but we can already infer as the audience that this is a very important moment in history, and that this moment will, in fact, change the course of all the characters' lives forever. And the show don't tell rule continues in the next scene when they're going on a mission. They don't tell us what the mission is, they barely talk about it with each other. They kind of just like string on the audience, just letting them know that they're doing something that's relatively important, and they're saying stuff like, oh yeah, we're gonna get in so much trouble for this, but they're never actually like explaining what it is. There's no info dump that's like boring. It's always kind of like just making you kind of want to know what happens. I feel like the show does this a lot, where it made me personally just beg for exposition dumps at times, because I just truly wanted to know what was happening. So, you know, it was a pretty good way to keep me just completely entertained for the entire duration of the show, because I just wanted to figure out so many questions that they kept posing to me. There's a few moments where it hit pretty heavy, like the scene where we first are introduced to magic, because they don't fully tell us how dangerous it fully is and what its capabilities are. They kind of just like, again, they just string us along for a while until we fully understand the effects it could truly have on the world. And there's other scenes that are scattered throughout the show where characters kind of just disappear for a while, and you're just wondering what they're doing, because they're just missing for like an entire episode, just doing something behind the scenes, and you're just sitting here just waiting to see when they're gonna pop up again, and you're just excited to see when they actually do pop up and do some important shit again. And I like the world building. I thought that was pretty deep, especially when it comes to the politics. I was always pretty attentive every single time the council was on screen making decisions, because I realized that every decision they would make was like outrageously important to like the rest of the plot and the world and the story, and I thought it was always pretty cool. And the politics of the world are usually tied in with the theme. This whole theme that some questions are just better left unanswered. There's one character who's basically like older than everyone in the show, I think, named Heimendinger, and he's essentially always telling them about the mistakes of the past and how to avoid them, but no one ever really wants to listen to him, because of the simple fact that they just want to advance. They want to essentially make all these advancements that he's against, and I don't fully blame them for that, because whenever he says not to do something and they do it, it usually only spawns good things, usually. if it doesn't, you know, kill someone. So it's like really weird. It's like, I think both sides are right, and it's just very weird to try to find a happy medium between advancement and caution. But there are definitely times when characters are a little too proactive, and sometimes it may cause death or serious injury. And I feel like that's like another theme of the show, where they're trying to tell us to, like, you know, just be mindful and just slow down, because some of our, because basically every action we have has a reaction, has consequences, and it affects others, and we need to think about that. When it comes to the characters of this show, I just genuinely like how every single one of them feel important. No character feels wasted. All of them feel just very strong. And I think a good example of this is like someone like Caitlyn. Because when I first saw Caitlyn, I didn't care about her. I didn't think that she had a real role in the show until like 4 episodes in, I found out that she's essentially one of the most important characters within the entire series. And that her entire role is to connect all the different perspectives that we see. Like, honestly, thinking on it now, I think she's probably like my favorite character, or at least like one, like top 2 or 3 like favorite characters in the show, just because of how much attention they decide to give her in like the middle of it. Caitlyn isn't really respected by anyone, not even her own family, I think. Even her best friend has made jokes about it, basically saying like, oh, you got this using your dad's money and this and that and the third. And like, I think she's cool because she always laughs it off. She never argues, and she doesn't just submit to it. She always just laughs it off, and she kind of just continues the conversation because she's pretty self-aware about it. She doesn't complain about the fact that, oh, no one respects me, or she doesn't like flaunt her riches. She's just a self-aware person who genuinely just wants to make the world a better place, and she wants a little bit more respect while doing so. Clagger's cool because he's like this big, strong meathead kind of, but he's also really intelligent, and he's always trying to avoid conflict, and he's like super passive, so it feels like he's just like a flip on like that whole trope with the big, strong, dumb character or whatever. So he's fun just for that reason. And I love Vander with all my heart, man. He's an amazing father figure. He's an amazing leader to the Undercity, and he's just so freaking supportive. I love everything about him.
Milo, take a breath. You can do this.
I'm like 90% sure that Victor's gonna become like the main big bad later, because in this season, like, he had his like own little side plot that looked like it was gonna go somewhere, but it didn't. So I'm guessing in season 2 or 3 or whatever, however long it goes, I feel like later he's gonna become a greater force of most likely evil. That's just my theory. I don't fully know though. Also, I feel like his main love interest, Sky, wasn't fully utilized in the way that she should have been. Like, I just feel like there should have been a little bit more from her. Echo's pretty cool because he has like an entire episode dedicated to himself. And the visuals for it are like pretty cool and original and like unlike the rest of the show. And it's probably like one of my favorite episodes. I don't know what to make of Allura. She's always like flipping back and forth between like having good intentions and selfish intentions, to the point where I fully don't know what to make of that character. And I guess I'll just let you guys be the judge of her character. But she is pretty cool because she does have her own little issues like everyone else in the show. She has these like abandonment issues that she's totally not cool with her mom for, and it does like play an actual role later in the show. Vi is also just like a major badass, and it's not just because she moves with a bunch of swagger or it's because she's kicking ass and taking names, but honestly I think it's because of the voice acting. If you didn't know, Vi is played by Haley Steinfeld, which is the same actress who plays Spider-Gwen from the Spider-Verse movies. And after watching this, I realized that she's pretty good at playing characters that are just like these badass loner type girls. And the voice acting really is like super phenomenal. There's like one scene in here where there's another character that's really close to her that makes her very angry that she would never hurt, but the entire time there's like so much tension. There's like this, you can just hear in her voice how she's just like totally losing her cool, totally losing all of her rationality, and that like you can't tell if or when she's just gonna just let loose and actually hurt one of her best friends. I'm probably not selling it enough, but just know that scene that I'm talking about is genuinely like the best scene in the entire show. Her whole character arc is about her essentially becoming like a leader, just like her father figure. Throughout the show, she makes a lot of decisions that kind of like put people at harm, but like they'll still do it because they see her as an actual leader, and they'll do whatever she says regardless of how stupid it is. And her entire story arc is essentially just to learn how to become a better leader and make better decisions for everyone around her. And that's kind of mainly everything I have to say about the show. I know what you're thinking. Dude, you didn't really even talk about Silco or even Jinx like that. And I will not be talking about them in this video. I will be talking about them in the next video that I make because they're very complicated characters that need a lot of time for me to actually go over. So if you do want to see that video, make sure you subscribe so you can see it later. But overall, I really love this show. It is like not perfect, but it's basically a masterpiece. I think it's definitely within like the top 5 things we've had in the last couple of years when it comes to animation and just storytelling in general. But I want to hear your thoughts about the show. You know, just comment down if you have different opinions of mine, or if you agreed with me on basically everything I said, then, you know, say it down there too. But that's all I really have to say, so thanks for watching. See ya.